Hello, we are back here with Command Figures.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Today we are unpacking a figure who is, well, he's so monumental, he almost feels more like a statue than a real person. We're talking about Nelson Mandela. But here's the thing. When most of us picture Mandela, we see the elderly statesman, right?
Yeah.
The grandfatherly figure smiling, waving, the man who brought peace.
Yeah, that's the image the world fell in love with, the icon of forgiveness, the saint.
Exactly. But today, we're not starting there. We're going to dive into the version of Mandela that sometimes gets glossed over. We're looking at the troublemaker.
And you mean that literally?
I mean that literally. Did you know his birth name, Lala, actually has a specific meaning in Xhosa?
It does. It translates to pulling the branch of a tree. But colloquially, yeah, it basically means troublemaker.
Talk about being born for the role.
It's almost prophetic, isn't it?
It really is. So our goal for this deep dive is to figure out how this man, who started as a hot-headed, radical disrupting meetings, transformed into what some people call a level 5 leader.
Someone who could unite an entire broken nation. And it's a fascinating journey. We're going to look at it chronologically, pulling from ANC archives, witness seminars from activists like Rusty Bernstein, who were right there with him.
And some great academic analyses, too.
Exactly, because you don't just wake up one day as a global icon of peace. You have to be forged into one.
So let's go back. Before the prison cells, before the presidency, who was he?
Well, the first thing to get is that he was royalty. He was born into the royal family of the Thembu tribe. His father was a chief, and young Mandela was being groomed to be a counselor to the king himself.
So he had this built-in sense of
authority, absolutely, from day one. He didn't have the inferiority complex the apartheid state wanted black men to have. He walked tall.
But then he walks away from it all. The arranged marriage, the traditional role.
Yeah.
He just leaves to become a lawyer in Johannesburg.
And that's a defining move. He teams up with Oliver Tambo, and they form Mandela and Tambo.
And you have to understand the context here. In apartheid South Africa, the law was a weapon used against you.
Right. And their firm became like the only place where ordinary black people could get a sympathetic ear and actual competent legal help. They were fighting the system from the inside.
Okay, so he's fighting with the law. But this is where it gets really interesting. I found this anecdote from Rusty Bernstein, an anti-apartheid activist. He talks about meeting Mandela in 1950. And this really blew my mind.
The strike meeting.
Yeah. Mandela wasn't the peacemaker. He was the guy heckling the speakers.
That's a crucial detail that gets lost in the St. Mandela story. The Communist Party was organizing a strike, and Mandela led the ANC Youth League to actually disrupt it. Catcalling, heckling, trying to break the whole thing up.
But why? Weren't they all on the same side?
Not yet. At that time, Mandela was very wary of communism. He was an African nationalist. He was brash, aggressive, and he viewed the communists as like a foreign influence. He was a young radical who thought he knew best.
So how do we get from that guy to the man who leads an armed struggle? What was the pivot?
The government changed the game. The crackdown became so severe, nonviolent protest was becoming almost suicidal. You had the Sharpeville massacre in 1960.
Where police just opened fire on a crowd.
Shot people in the back as they ran. The government banned the ANC, and Mandela realized, you can't play chess when your opponent is using brass knuckles.
There's that famous quote of his after a strike failed in 1960. He said, "In my mind, we are closing a chapter on nonviolent policy." Just wow, closing a chapter.
It was a massive pivot. He goes underground, becomes the Black Pimpernel, wearing disguises, and he helps form Umkhonto weSizwe,
Spear of the Nation.
Spear of the Nation. And he becomes its commander-in-chief. He goes abroad for military training. This is Mandela the soldier, starting a sabotage campaign against government infrastructure.
Trying to cripple the state without hurting people, right?
That was the rule, yes. But this action hero phase, it doesn't last long.
No. In 1962, he's captured. There are rumors a CIA tip might have led the police to him. And that leads to the Ravoni trial.
And this is the moment the troublemaker starts to become the symbol.
I read that his lawyers begged him not to give that speech from the dock.
They were terrified. The prosecutor was calling for the death penalty. Most people would plead for mercy. Mandela does the exact opposite. He turns the court into his stage.
He looked a judge right in the eye.
He did. He owns the sabotage charge. And then he delivers that incredible line, "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal which I hope to live for, but if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die."
He was daring them to make him a martyr.
He absolutely was. And it worked. They gave him life in prison. And that's when we enter phase 2. the silence.
Rusty Bernstein called it closing the lid. Such a haunting phrase.
It's terrifyingly accurate. For 27 years, his image was banned. His words were banned. You couldn't quote him. For a whole generation, Mandela wasn't a face. He was a ghost.
A myth. The government thought they could just bury him on Robben Island and the world would forget.
But inside the prison, something else was happening. The inmates called it Mandela University.
So prison didn't break him. It made him.
It schooled him. This is where the transformation really kicks in. He realized that pure anger, the anger of the young radical, wasn't going to get him anywhere.
And one of the most surprising things he did, he decided to learn Afrikaans, the language of his oppressor.
It was a brilliant, counterintuitive strategy. He realized to defeat the enemy, he had to understand them. He wanted to know the warders, their history, their fears. He read their poetry, spoke to them in their own language.
It just completely changes the power dynamic, doesn't it?
Totally. He stopped being prisoner number 46664 and became a person. In many ways, he was psychologically running the prison. He won them over.
And yet, he never bent on his principles. We have a talk about 1985. President Botha offers to release him.
A tempting offer. Just renounce violence and you can go home. After more than 20 years in a cell.
Most people would take that deal in a heartbeat.
But Mandela refuses, publicly. His daughter Zinzi reads his response at a rally. He asks, "What freedom am I being offered when the organization of the people remains banned?" And then this killer line, "Prisoners cannot enter into contracts."
Wow. Prisoners cannot enter into contracts. That is such a power move.
Exactly. He's saying, I'm not begging, we are equals, and you need me more than I need you. And that opens the door to the next phase, the secret negotiator.
This part is like a spy thriller. This is where he breaks ranks, isn't it?
He does. In 1985, still a prisoner, he writes a secret letter to the justice minister. He doesn't tell the ANC leadership in exile. He doesn't even tell his fellow prisoners at first. It was a massive risk.
So I do it.
He saw the stalemate, the country was burning, but the resistance couldn't overthrow the state. Someone had to break the deadlock.
And so they move him to a private house on prison grounds.
Victor Verster, yeah. It had a swimming pool, a personal chef, and he starts having these secret meetings with the head of intelligence.
And the tea parties. I love this detail. They're smuggling him out of prison to have tea with the wives of apartheid leaders.
It sounds surreal, but it was calculated. He met their wives, he met President Botha himself, he charmed them, he spoke their language, he knew their history. He was dismantling the terrorist stereotype one cup of tea at a time.
And it worked. February 1990, F.W. de Klerk unbans the ANC and releases him. The lid is finally lifted.
It is, but the sources remind us, the world expected an instant happy ending, and that is not what happened. The period from 1990 to 1994 was incredibly bloody.
Right, the transition was violent, the country was on the brink of civil war, and then the assassination of Chris Hani.
That was the moment, the point of no return. Hani was beloved, second only to Mandela. He's gunned down by a white supremacist. The townships were ready to explode.
And Mandela, not yet president, goes on national TV.
He does, and listen to how he framed it. He didn't just call for peace, he focused on a detail, the witness. He noted that a white woman, an Afrikaner neighbor, saw the gunman and called the police.
He used that to unite people.
Exactly. He said, a white woman of Afrikaner origin risked her life so that we may know the truth. He used that one fact to bind the nation together and pull it back from the brink. That was the moment he truly became president.
Then there was the TV debate with de Klerk. De Klerk apparently won on points.
He was a better debater, sure. He was attacking Mandela on policy, but at the end, Mandela just reaches over and shakes de Klerk's hand on live TV.
A symbolic victory.
It completely disarmed de Klerk. It showed the viewers that they weren't enemies, they were partners in building something new.
So the ANC wins in 94. Mandela's president. But now he has to govern a country where the white minority is terrified.
They're expecting retribution, and instead, they got Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. What did that actually mean in practice?
It's an African philosophy, I am because we are. But for Mandela, it was policy. He weaponized it for peace. He did things that confused even his own supporters. He invited the widows of the men who kept him in jail to tea.
He hosted a lunch for the prosecutors from his trial.
And, most famously, he invited his old prison warders from Robben Island to a formal lunch at the presidential residence. He sat and broke bread with his jailers.
That's almost unimaginable.
It sends a clear message. There's a place for you at this table. But the ultimate example, the one that sealed the deal, was the 1995 Rugby World Cup.
The Springboks.
Right, a symbol of white supremacy for decades. Black South Africans hated them. The ANC wanted to get rid of the emblem. Mandela said no.
He went against his own party on this.
He did. He knew it was too important to the Afrikaner identity, so at the final, he walks out onto the field wearing the Springbok jersey.
And the crowd, which was mostly white Afrikaners, just went insane.
They started chanting, "Nelson, Nelson." It was this thunderous moment of unity. He told the captain, "Thank you for what you have done for our country." That one gesture did more for reconciliation than 1,000 laws could have.
It's incredible. But the final act of leadership might be the rarest one of all. He walked away.
One term. He served 5 years and stepped down. In a continent where so many leaders cling to power for decades, he showed that the office is bigger than the man.
He could have been president for life.
Easily. But he knew that for democracy to survive, he had to demonstrate a peaceful transfer of power. He wasn't a king, he was a servant.
So when we look back at this whole journey, from troublemaker to president, what's the big takeaway?
It's that evolution into a level 5 leader. He had this immense personal ambition, but through the crucible of prison, he transmuted it. He turned it into an ambition for the cause, not for himself. He became a social architect.
It's the patience that gets me. 27 years of preparation for just 5 years of governance.
Exactly. He played the long game. He showed us that your enemy today can be your partner tomorrow if you just have the vision and the grace to see it.
A powerful place to leave it. A man who learned to lead his enemies as well as his friends. Thank you for listening. Do not forget to click like and subscribe and write your opinion in the comments section.